Hi, welcome back to Jappie Vlogs. Let's talk about income tax in the Netherlands. So we're not doing wealth or value-added tax, we're just doing income, to keep it simple, because the Dutch tax system is one of the most complicated in the world. And we're going to talk about 4 levels of income tax, dealing with income tax. And the first one being the most common, just being like employed. So here we are assuming you have an income of 60k. We can put it in this tool of the KVK to calculate how much tax you're paying. You're actually paying tax if you're employed. It's just done by the employer for you. So this is the easiest way to deal with taxes because everything is done for you. You may file taxes on your own to get some money back sometimes, maybe not, because taxes are insane. But it's like all taken care of you. So you pay like around 28% taxes if you make 60k. And there's like reasons for this not lining up to the skills. It's like you get deductions because you do labor, and there's like a lot of ways making sure that people who earn less pay less tax. So if you would enter 30k, which is around the minimum wage, you would end up paying like 10% tax, and if you put in 130k, you would end up paying 40% tax. So like it's all sliding scales, all very complicated to do. That's why you use the tool. I tried like embedding this in Excel, but I failed miserably, so I'm just gonna use the tool, okay? And this is precise enough. Like the bookkeeper I use has better calculations, but this is quite precise. So this is the next level of taxation. You make 60k and then you end up paying 20% of tax. And you may ask yourself, why is this the case? Well, this is the case where you're self-employed. And the government loves people who are self-employed because they don't have to deal with the social security net. So you don't, if you get fired as a self-employed person, you're essentially fucked and you have to deal with it yourself, right? There are aside of having to pay less taxes because you get more of these deductible things, you also get to make business expenses. So for example, if you used around 5,000 euros of the 60k to move around the country to do your business, then you don't have to pay taxes over that either. So there's like some advantages in here. However, you have to be very careful when doing this and make sure your bookkeeper agrees with all of these expenses, because if you do this wrong, then you're essentially committing fraud, which is illegal, and you shouldn't do that. I hired a bookkeeper to keep me honest, and it's like difficult to assess sometimes if something is legal or not to do. So that's why I have the bookkeeper, and he'll keeps me honest. Okay, so for the next level, we're gonna assume that you've essentially made it and making a fuck ton of money. Because this is the best way to compare level 3, which is the BV, which is essentially a limited liability company. So first of all, we're gonna compare this to wage labor, which wouldn't even occur in my area for 130k a year. But it's possible if you work in software, right? Like if you work in software, you work in Amsterdam, you work for Google, for example, then yeah, you would even make more than this kind of money. But your tax pressure would end up being 40% if you make 130k. So 53k goes to income tax. I cannot even do this column. Currently, I am in the ZZP column, and which would mean if I would make this kind of money, then I would have to pay 51k in taxes, and my tax pressure would be around 40%. So that's a fuck ton of money, essentially, for everyone, I guess. So I went to the bookkeeper and I asked him about starting a BV, and he came up with this structure. And what happens is that you pay yourself a wage of like 56k. Over this wage, you pay taxes just like in these 2 columns, which is like income tax. And then your BV, which is treated like a person for some reason, ends up with 74k in profits. Over this profits, you pay corporate tax, which is around 19%. So that's like 15k that goes away. And then you end up with 60k of just like money in your company, and you can pay, you can turn this all over as dividend. So you end up with this money in your own pocket instead of in the business. And to do that, you pay like dividend tax, which is at 15%. So you end up with 9K of dividend taxes, and after doing all that stuff, you end up with 90K in your pocket, which means you ended up paying only 40.8K in taxes. So this reduces your tax pressure even further. However, the accountant or the bookkeeper I use recommended me to talk to a fiscalist, which is like a financial advisor specifically specialized on the Dutch tax system. And he came up with another structure. I have not actually spoken to him in person. This was just an email. I'm going to speak to him in person because this sounds too good to be true. But he said that we can combine this structure and this structure together to end up with this column. And I get the advantages from being self-employed over the first income tax. And that would end up saving me 5K in money because I get these additional deductibles from being self-employed. But I also get the protection from the BV because I have like a free occupation, like software engineer. And that ends up with my tax pressure being 27.4%. I still have to pay 35K in tax, so that's like a lot of money being paid here. But the thing I wanted to highlight here is that this 27.4% is in fact lower than the 28% someone making 60K is paying. So, I mean, that's like not right, I think, in my opinion. But, I mean, I'm going to use it if I can, because it's available. But I don't think it's a fair system. So, you know, I'll put my opinion in there. If you like the video, please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Like, please let me know if you think this is fair. But yeah, it's available, you know.